Hi guys, Yuliya here. So today I want to talk about budget gardening. And if you are like me, I am addicted to plants, gardening, gardens, garden accessories, anything gardening. So when I go to a garden store, I can spend $50 without thinking, and it makes me so happy. So sometimes things that make you really happy, you kind of forget that there are budget issues. So I just wanted to go over 5 different ways that I try to stay in control of garden spending. So I'm sure there's like hundreds or a million ways we can be budget conscious in our gardens, but these are like the 5 that I employ in my gardening experience. So let me go over them. So the tip number 1 is to shop for plants in kind of an unusual time of the year or off season. So right now is middle of July and nobody's thinking about gardening because it's hot and people are away, but it's a great time to go plant hunting. So if you go to a nursery or like Home Depot or Lowe's, you will see a lot of signs showing 50% off or 75% off because it is slow, and also the nurseries kind of don't want to take care of those plants and they have to clear their inventory for the fall. So they are putting a lot of sales on those plants. So right now is like a perfect time to go plant shopping. And if you are worried about planting the plants right now, as long as they are in the pot and not bare root plants are only should be planted in the spring. So if the plant is in the pot, you can buy it and plant it right now with no problem, as long as you give it sufficient water. It's going to be just fine. So that is my tip number 1. Now the tip number 2 is to start your plants from seed. And starting plants from seed is probably one of the top money-saving ways you can start a garden. In fact, I will flash a video of my Cleome patch, and I started it about 5 years ago with like a $2 seed packet. And they reclaim that curbside area and they seed themselves every year and they come back every year, and I don't even have to plant them anymore. So this $2 investment turned into like this $1 million view, and there's a lot of people who drive by or walk by and they really want to know what this plant is and they really love it. But you can literally start a garden with $1.50 or $3 seed packet. And you can start both annuals and perennials from seed. Obviously perennials take a little bit longer, but it's a lot of fun. There are a lot of varieties of plants that you can grow from seed that you would not normally find in a nursery trade. So that's really a great part of that too. So that is the tip number 2, start your plants from seed. Now the tip number 3 is to save your bulbs, tubers, or corms of the plants you plant throughout the year. Now a lot of tropicals, like for example I have an elephant ear that some people treat like an annual. Technically you can bring the bulb indoors and keep it in the windowsill, which I have been doing over 5 years, and bring it outside. I will flash a video of my elephant ear that I have been saving over the years, and it's a great way to save money because the elephant ears and like the tropicals or dahlias or gladiolus and other summer bulbs tend to be expensive, but you can absolutely save them over the winter and put them back in the ground in the spring again, and don't treat them like annuals. Now the elephant ear also looks really good indoors because it doesn't require a lot of sun. You have to kind of keep an eye on mealybugs and like bugs that would eat the leaves, but other than that it makes a great house plant as well. Now the tip number 4 is to divide. So a lot of my garden is just divisions of the plants that I had before, and there a couple of things happen when you do that. First, you rejuvenate the plant, the original plant that you planted, like for let's say hostas, for example. You divide them, and they actually become healthier and less crowded. And then you take that division to another part of the garden, and it's just like a free plant right there. And hostas tend to be expensive too. Some of the cultivars are. But also, what happens is that you have a cohesiveness in your garden. You have a hosta here, and you have a hosta like in another part of the garden, but there is a connection. So your garden is becoming like this one kind of um, theme or idea. So I will show a photo of a bee balm that I have been dividing in my perennial border. So I had a like large patch, and then I started kind of dividing it everywhere. And there is a connection. There's a bee balm here, there's bee balm here, and it looks like very natural and really, really pretty. So definitely divide your plants. It's really good for them. It's really good for your pocketbook. Now the tip number 5, and I'm sorry, I have a cat here that wants to say hi. Okay, hold on. Sola, come here. Come here. I know. You want to say hi? Okay, let's say hi. Oh, you're such a good. Sola wants to say hi. We can't go further without her saying hi. I know. You're such a good girl. You're a good girl. Say hi. Anyway, the tip number 5 is to make garden friends. And friends are great. Garden friends are amazing. So I do have a couple of garden friends, and we exchange plants all the time. Let's say they have something that is doing really well in their garden, and it's doing so well they are overwhelmed, and they're like, don't know what to do with this plant. So they divide it and they give it to me. And then if I have a plant that is doing really well in my garden, I can give it to them. Obviously, word of caution, no aggressive or invasive plants should be given away, because so there's a quick story. It happened to me once. Somebody gave me a gooseneck. Oh my word! I could not get rid of that plant. I still have it like popping up in my perennial garden, but they like took over everything. Like that was before I knew anything about how aggressive can plants be. So anyway, when you are giving plants away, just make sure that you are not giving them this garden thug that is going to take over their garden. And the same applies, when they give you plants. So if you don't have any garden friends, you can join a garden club. I don't belong to one, but I have gone to a couple of meetings at a garden club, and it was actually a lot of fun. So they meet on a Saturday morning for breakfast at one of the garden people's houses, and then they have breakfast, and then after breakfast they actually help her, in this case it was a woman, clean up her garden. So she can say, oh, you know what, I have tons of this grass right here, you can take as much as you want. And then so you take cuttings or divisions or whatever, and then the next week they meet in another person's garden and they do it all over again. So this way you kind of have like 10 people clean up your garden, and then you have plants that you can give away or take. So build a network, maybe start a Facebook group or something like that, or join the one that already exists. There are tons in this country. So I think it's just such a wonderful way to share your love for gardening and share your plants or take plants. So it's definitely one of the best ways to be budget conscious in your garden. So that's it. These are the 5 ways that I try to be budget conscious in my garden. If you know of the ways that you try to kind of be realistic about how much money you spend on your garden, post them in the comment section below. And I will see you next time. Thanks.